Responsibilities of a perfect father. I want to just focus for a few minutes on understanding the impact of fathering. Can you write that down? Understanding what? The impact of fathering. The stories you heard today are real stories. And those stories made some of you cry. And these stories are repeated a million times. Let me just begin by reviewing a couple of statements. Fathering is a position and a function, not a title or a name. So because a man has a child doesn't mean he's a father. You don't give him that as a name. It's a function. Number two, the position and the function must be honored according to the Word of God, not necessarily the person. I'm sure many of you work for people who you don't like, but you still go to work. And you do what they tell you to do, but you don't need to actually like them. Why? You honor them because of the position. They are the supervisor, they are the manager. So you can actually honor a position without necessarily liking the person. And that's the word the Bible uses. The Bible says, honor your father and your mother. Honoring your father implies that your father could actually be dishonored. The command to honor implies the father can be dishonored. And so, one of the most important things then we need to learn from fathering is the father must be worthy of honor. The greatest crisis for men is the absence of fatherhood models. I don't think we can argue that anymore from our stories here today. We had men who had never seen their fathers, men whose father has been incarcerated, a man whose father in the home and never talked to them. And so there was a poor modeling of fathers. And a man cannot deliver what he never saw. And this is a difficulty. Sometimes women marry a man and expect him to be a good man. And even demand that he be a good man, whatever that means to her. Good, whatever good means. And this man is a product of an experience that makes it difficult for him to deliver what she's demanding. So she becomes angry and then begins to maybe verbally attack him. And he doesn't know what to do, because I think all of us would agree that when you go to a soda machine and you put in your money and you hit the button, you expect a soda. Am I right? Am I right? How many of you ever went to a soda machine, put your quarters in, pressed the button, nothing came out? You pressed it 3 times, nothing came out. You decided, well, maybe I made a mistake. So you put another set of quarters in and you hit it and nothing came out. Now what happens to you? You become angry at what? The machine. What do you do with the machine? Don't tell anybody, but you kick it. That's what happens to most men and women. when they get into a relationship, the woman puts in the quarters. She okay, expect you to be a right man, a good man, and the guy doesn't deliver. She puts in another quarter, and a quarter could be giving him sex, feeding him, making the bed, clean the house, and the guy just ain't doing right. And she keeps putting in the quarter, and then it gets to the point where she blows her top. And she does reactions. She may curse him, she may try to physically attack him, or she may frustrate him because she kicks him with words. And what does he do? He can't deliver. So he lashes out with anger. Could become domestic problems. Write this down. We demand from men what they cannot give. And this is why it's tough to be a woman in this 21st century. Because the statistics we just read are higher in the Bahamas than they are in America. I think all the lawyers in this room will tell you that the courts are clogged up with these cases where they can't even get the men to buy milk for kids. In the Bahamas, the courts are clogged up with negligent fathers. So we have men who don't know what to do. And what do you do if your earthly father was a failure? I think we heard stories today. 2 men interviewed today said that their fathers died and there was never a connection. So not only did their earthly father fail to father them, their earthly father left. And then you marry them and they have a baby that you give them. And they don't know what to do with a baby because they have no experience of fathering from their fathers. Well, the answer to this question is an important answer. It's one that Jesus gave. Matthew chapter 5 verse 47. And this is where we get the word perfect from. Jesus said, "Be perfect, therefore, as your Father in heaven is perfect." Why? Your earthly one failed. What God is saying is, if your earthly father failed, you better get another mortal quickly. And don't get it from earth, because it seems like earth ain't working for you. So we're looking at what is the model that the earthly father gave. Now, I have been dealing with topics on men, many of you know this, for over 40 years. I started teaching on male issues and studying this for years, over 40 years ago, as a teenager. And I am convinced that the most excellent model for fathering a child is Jehovah and Jesus. So I did some research for you, and you need to stay with me for the next few weeks, because I did details. I went through the 4 Gospels and I pulled out all the perfect relationships between the Father in heaven and the Son on earth. And you would be amazed how practical those discoveries are. Let me begin with a statement what fathers do. This is what I learned from the study and the research of God. Write this down. What do fathers do? Number 1, fathers give a sense of identity. I think we heard one of the young men say today, 2 of them actually, said, I needed my father to give me my identity. And that's what fathers give. Fathers not only give the son's identity, they also give the daughter's identity. Your identity doesn't come from your mother. It comes from your father. There has to be a fathering spirit that gives you identity. Number 2, fathers give a sense of legitimacy. Some children don't feel like they are legal on earth. Matter of fact, the culture actually calls them illegitimate children, which is not true, but that's what we call them. Illegitimate means illegal. How can a baby be illegal? We heard one of the men say this morning, he was told by his father, you are a mistake. What does that mean to the mind of a child? That means I am not legitimate. I'm here to tell you, if your mother and father had you out of wedlock, or even in lock, or under the lock, or beside the lock, no matter what they say to you, you are legal. There is no such thing as an illegitimate child. There are only illegitimate parents. Children do not commit adultery. The baby does not commit fornication. So you cannot make them the guilt product. They are pure. The Bible says, the seed of the womb is mine, says the Lord. Number 3, fathers provide a sense of purpose for their son and daughter. Number 4, fathers provide a sense of destiny. This is the power of a father. They give you a sense of the future.
Time. What's going on, family? Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sundays. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Jay Stanza, got Cookie, Cloud Jones, Share Story to Tell, Luis, Man Not the Enemy, Hank in the Basement, Coach K, and myself and Lapeef JR. Welcome to Lapeef Sundays on the Lapeef Network. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
Chilling, man. Happy Father's Day.
Good. Happy Father's Day, guys.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Appreciate it.
Yes, happy Father's Day, y'all.
Yeah. Shout out to all the fathers, man. It's our day. Our day. Ain't gonna let nobody steal our thunder. Ain't gonna let us steal our thunder, man. How was your Father's Day?
You saw that meme? That meme that said, yo, just because your mother has a beard don't mean you need to tell her happy Father's Day.
Okay. You got to send it to me so I can post it, man. You got to send it to me so I can bring it on the screen so everybody else can shed a laughter. That is hilarious. How's everybody Father's Day been thus far? I know it's just starting. It's still early to some folks. Going well?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah, mine was wonderful, man. I had an awesome Father's Day. Everybody came through and they blessed me. It was good to see the smiles on my kids' faces. It was a good time, man. A good time. You know, Kelly definitely went out our way to provide a thoughtful Father's Day. It's probably like one of the most thoughtful Father's Days that I've had ever. Yeah, to be honest. So it's definitely one for the books, one to remember, and the kids were involved. So I think that says a lot. With that being said, it's good to see you guys again on this Sunday. I know it is Father's Day. I know you guys probably have plans, so we're just gonna go ahead and hop right into it. Last year, this time I had a show and it was about fatherhood, and I think it is important to continue to highlight the fathers, and important because I do think fathers are undervalued. I don't think they understand how important they are to the family, to the community, to wives, to children. The list goes on. Fathers are important. Good fathers. Men are important. Good men. But with that being said, I'm a Christian, so I have been listening to, Dr. Monroe for some time. Not a long time, but some time. So every now and then, a few of his videos pops up into my feed, and as I'm working out or just meditating throughout the day, I'll put some of it on. And so this one in particular, I brought up, and it's talks about understanding the impact of father, which I thought was important. During the timer, you guys were able to hear a little bit of it. So if you do want to listen to it in its entirety, I will put the link in there, but just put in Dr. Miles Monroe, understanding the impact of fathering. I actually heard Chicago really bring him up before, but I didn't even know who he was. And this was back when he was on the panel. He would often quote certain things from him or certain things that was said. So it was crazy to see how I stumbled across them and I was introduced to him, and then I just listened to some of his work. And yeah, I don't know what that's all about over there, but salute to you. So I thought I took some screenshots of what he was highlighting throughout there. I do want us to discuss it. I do believe that these slides are self-explanatory. So it'd be interesting to get some perspectives on it. And I think this is an important topic, especially seeing how it is Father's Day. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you so choose to. I understand that it may be your first time and you may not want to hit the like button. So if you find something that you like and it seems to be going great, you hit the like button. If not, then hit the dislike button. That is also engagement as well. You know, maybe it's things that we can improve on. Feel free to email info@lapeef.com. If it's something that you may have a suggestion or something that you would like to see done, or maybe we didn't hit it the way it was supposed to be hit. So hopefully we're hitting it right. Hopefully we're hitting it right today. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, shout out to the sponsor, Teej Channel, Uncomplicated Skincare for Men, 30% off along with a free gift. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and get that Teej pack. That link is in the description. It works, man. It works. And I'll go ahead and highlight that after we get done doing this first one. So again, understanding the impact of fathering. This is the first slide that I'm going to pull up, which is honoring the function of father. Fathering is a position and a function, not a title or a name. The position and function must be honored. Fathers must earn the right to be respected and honored. The honor fathers imply fathers can be dishonored. I'm going to leave that up there for about 3 seconds. Again, honoring the function of father. The thing that stuck out to me is that fathering is a position and not a function, and a function, not a title or a name. It's a position and a function. I want to get you guys' thoughts about that. Who wants to go ahead and dive into this first? All right, okay. I guess I'll go into school. Go ahead, Jay.
You said it's a position and not a function?
Fathering is a position and a function, not a title or a name. So we often hear fathering just being a title or a name, but it's basically saying that it's a position and not a function, and a lot of people may not realize that. Do you agree?
I agree because it falls under duty, essentially. Like being a duty is something that you not always gonna love doing, but you have to execute, you know. And I think in my life, if I think of my father, I think that's what he did, you know. It wasn't something that I'm sure, you know, putting myself in his shoes, viewing it from my position, I'm sure a lot of stuff wasn't easy, but our needs were always taken care of.
Absolutely.
What I like about the word function, and I just wanted to look up the definition, although of course I think we understand what it is, but it's an activity or purpose natural to or intended for a person or thing. I like the purpose behind it. There's a reason for it. It's not something that's like, it's okay if it's there, it's okay if it's not. There is a reason and a necessity for fathers. So I just wanted to highlight that part.
All right.
I definitely wanted to add that I agree with that. I wanted to say that one thing I think is very special about it being a function is that functioning is something that's active, and it being a position, it's something that's active, meaning it's not something that you can achieve. It's something that you have to constantly be doing, similar to success. Like a lot of times we see titles and positions as something you can reach and then you've made it, where you actually have to continually be doing the activities in order for you to qualify as it being done or achieved. So I agree.
Like in shape. Like you actively have to be working out to be in shape. The minute you stop working out, you're no longer in shape. So,
When I think about function, um, I think about how anything would function, a machine, a business. So when I think about fathering being a function more or less than a title, it's kind of like the leadership role, the hierarchy, setting the foundation to make everything, to make sure everybody in the family, including the wife and kids, are functioning properly. So I love the definition of fathering being a function because I think a lot of people don't understand that that is the role for him to lead and make sure everything is functioning correctly within the family pod.
Hey, go ahead, Stans. I want to get your thoughts about it. Fathering is a position and a function, not a title or name.
I agree. I think like when you think of fatherhood, it's somebody who has to deliver no matter what. So no matter the circumstance, you have to provide, you got to protect, you got to deliver for your family. You got to make sure your family is operating correctly. When I think of fatherhood, I think of somebody who's selfless. Like when you become a father, it's not about you at all. Like it's about your family. So it's definitely an unselfish position. So I agree.
All right. Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everybody's comments so far. The part that I want to kind of hang on is honor your father because he can be dishonored, right? And I think that great examples that show up of this same sentiment is how we tend to kind of throw a cast of bad apples in society and paint that all fathers are like that. And at least in my lived experience and in my community and proximity, I could say that a lot of the fathers are fathers who are in their position and function. They don't carry a title because it's like the rent and it's due every day. Fathering is due every single day. And sort of that's the part of being constantly active. And I think that it is a safeguard to kind of protect, what fathers mean, right? And I think that we need more of them to be in that sort of position, in that position of leadership in today's society, even more because there's nothing that's going to fix technologically where we are today that we can't solve with restoring the balance of fathers, family, and community. I think that's very important. I know the sister just finished talking about hierarchy. Everything in life has it, and I think that everybody benefits across the board. And I think we've slightly have forgotten that. But yeah, that's why I kind of want to share. I think fathering is a very important position to kind of acknowledge. And today is a better day to recognize that.
All right. Go ahead, man. Not the enemy.
I definitely agree with what everybody said. I like the fact that Coach K pointed out function. When I think about function, I give the example of like the actual physical body. Like I too am a believer. I believe in God. So the way I interpret function as it pertains to family is, God is the brain, man is the actual head, and then the body is the woman and the child that's all operating. So then when you look at the body as a whole, you have a whole body. And without the brain, you can't even send signals through the body to, for it to work. Without the head, you can't see. Without the head, you can't hear. Without the head, you can't eat. Without the body, you can't walk. Without the body, you can't pick up something. You can't, so it all works together for the good. And yeah, I certainly believe fathers are 1,000,000% important.
All right, go ahead, Hank.
Man, look, first things first, I want to wish every man out here who was a great father a happy Father's Day because it's well deserved. This is our day. I want every man to enjoy your day. I know majority of you are great fathers. I know you are, even despite of what people say or what people think. I know the majority of these men who are fathers are great fathers. The hell with the mothers who claim to be fathers, you ain't shit. The hell with you deadbeat motherfuckers, you ain't shit. So as far as is it a function? Yeah, I believe it is. It's a tough job being a man alone. Now, let alone you bring some more responsibility into your world that takes on a whole different genre. And it's tough. Every day some little one is relying on your every movement, your every thought to try to be as perfect as possible, to try to be as point as much as possible, to make sure you are doing everything you have to do because they dependent on you. They don't things don't run right if they don't have you in their life. Their life's not complete. Yeah, they got the mother there and that's nice, but there's a side missing. And so for any man who has a child, who has a son or a daughter, needs to be there and realize how important that is. And if you don't, yeah, you got some other issues you need to deal with. So yes, I believe it is a position and a function it is greatly needed, and not just a name and a title. So I agree with that statement.
You
That was
on
a
mute.
beautiful mic drop right there.
I can't hear you, JR. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I believe you're muted.
That's that Jamaican internet, my boy.
Yeah, you muted.
No, I'm not. I can hear I can hear everybody else, but I can't hear.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you now.
Oh, actually,
Stop all that cooking. Don't do that.
I have a serious question. Hopefully, Jay, I can get a base foundation from the panel to start this show. What is a father? Does anybody want to give their take as far as what a father is to them? I would like to hear from the ladies.
I,
So,
I was gonna say I believe I just gave it to them when I just said what I said, but maybe they was
yeah, I just wanted to see
before.
if anybody else wanted to add anything
Okay.
extra to it. I want to hear what the ladies have to say. What is a father to you guys?
My father was everything to me. I lucked out when I picked him from the little cloud with my little baby wings, like they say we pick our parents. Um, he was a leader, but he also taught me about life and how to survive in it, which I appreciate. He was a Marine, so he was a serviceman, but he used the tools that they gave him to create a well-rounded group of girls because he was a girl dad. So a father to me is just like the preacher said in the beginning, he's the molder of the children in the home. And not everybody's good at molding things. But I got lucky. And but yeah, to me a father, he molds the whole structure of life for the kids, the family, the wife if they're married. Even if they're not, though, it's very important to understand that the father is just as important if you're not married as he is if he's in the house. I just was lucky enough to have a dad in the house. So a father is everything to his family. He should be anyway. He wasn't mine.
All right. Go ahead, man. Nothing to me.
My dad is my superhero. Like I literally remember, excuse my son in the background, y'all. I literally remember going to school as a young girl and I would literally tell my friends like my dad is a superhero and I literally believed it. And I remember one day my dad was taking one of my friends home because I think their parents left them. They needed a ride home from school or whatever. My friend was inside the truck. And then I told my dad, I said, Dad, flex your muscles. And because I had told my friend, I said, my dad is a superhero. So when I got in the car, I was like, Dad, flex your muscles. And my dad flexed. And I was like, see? And I literally did believe that because just like Country Cookie said, my dad is everything to me. A lot of people always reference the mom, you know what I'm saying? Which moms are a great role. Don't get me wrong, but I don't have that relationship that most people have with their moms. For me, it was my dad. My dad is literally everything, and the importance of it is priceless. You Especially when they're great at it, when they're a great father. For instance, my dad exposed me to so many things that most women don't even know, or hell, even a lot of men don't even know. So yeah, at the end of the day, great fathers are superheroes, and I believe every day should literally be Father's Day, for real.
Go ahead, Coach K.
I just feel like my answer won't do justice off the cuff, but my dad definitely was. He's an incredible dad, but I want to speak on fathers in general. I think they are definitely the foundation to a family. They provide the structure to a family and to society as a whole. If they are not there, or if they are not functioning, like the analogy we used earlier, like if they're out of shape, for example, everything else is going to break down. Now, you can try as much as you want to compensate with, more family, or let's say, for example, daycare or outsiders, but a father can never be replaced. And that's really all I can say to kind of get the message across. So
I totally agree.
All right.
I want to say something real quick. I think I want to kind of expand this a little bit. I don't think that fathers are just fathers, at the border of just their household, whether they have children or not. I think fathers are an extension of their community and where they live. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. My father, I'm saying, I'm the oldest of three. And there's been kids, even growing up around us, who didn't grow up with their dad or didn't have their dad in their life. And the way that my father would talk to them, I'm saying, in a fatherly way, like, hey, like, I see you're doing this, like, that's not good for you. I'm saying? You got to think about moving this way. And sort of they gravitate towards him because of the way that he spoke to them, the way that he was able to relate to them, in the way that he was able to kind of give a meta critique, but yet still be in his masculine, right? And sort of they take that, and I still have people to this day that I run into, and they're like, how's your father doing? The first thing that they always ask, not so much my mom, but how's your father doing, right? And I tell them, like, oh, he's good, he's retired, he's back on the island, etc. And they still remember the conversations that they've had with them at those moments. So I really think that just fathers and fathering, I think it's an extension of their household. I think it becomes a beacon for a lot of other young people, especially young boys who are trying to develop into that next stage of manhood, right? And I think it's important to kind of take a moment to acknowledge that that those borders don't only stop within the walls of your home, but yet the edges of your own community and region where you live.
I think Lou transition right into the next slide that I want to put up, which is father provide the model. I am taking these quotes and these talking points from Dr. Miles Monroe. So here it is right here. Father provide the model. Father provide the model. Let me get rid of this banner real quick. Fathers model what children do. The imitation power of fathers. Can your children do in public everything you do in secret? It says Jesus gave him this answer. I tell you the truth, the son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his father doing, because whatever the father does, the son also does. 20, for the father loves the son and shows him all he does. Let me go ahead and bring up another slide too, that says what fathers do. Sense of identity, sense of legitimacy, sense of purpose, sense of destiny, sense of heritage, sense of confidence, sense of family, work ethic, authority, and belief system. Let's go ahead and break that down. I want to get you guys' thoughts about it. Father provide the model.
That's true. That's really true. Kids learn through visual. So what I see my dad doing, I'm gonna mimic it. I really agree with the first point on confidence. I think fathers instill confidence into their kids, especially to the son. I could see a lack when my father wasn't around, but my confidence was suffering. I didn't know who I was, and I couldn't get that from my mom. But definitely, the father's big on the confidence, especially in the young boy. You need that father figure to kind of guide you to kind of figure out who you are as a man. So I agree with that.
Can I piggyback off that? With confidence, we know that confidence comes from doing and experiencing and overcoming. It was interesting. I found a study that said that, for instance, fathers, it was a swim lesson study, that fathers tend to stand behind their children so the children face their social environment, whereas mothers tend to position themselves in front of their children, seeking to establish visual contact with the children. So, of course, not to, the good intentions of the mothers, but still, fathers are more likely to allow risk taking and encourage it and embracing new things so that kids can gain that confidence. And that's lasting, especially, of course, when they learn that in childhood. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. Quick story, like piggybacking off of Jay Stanza, like that confidence. Like I remember when I took my first driving test, like I failed it the first time, but I remember, all my friends is kind of waiting back home, to see if I passed or whatever. My dad took me out to pass the driving test and I failed, man. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, yeah, tearing up, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, I failed my first driving test. And I looked at him, because I never looked at him in that way, but he took that time to be vulnerable with me and was like, well, I failed my first driving test. And I went from like tearing up to like just busting out laughing, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, like, this ain't the end of the world. And I feel like if my mom said that to me, it wouldn't have had the same effect as if he said that to me. You know what I mean? So it kind of empowered me like, oh, I'm going to knock this shit out next time I take it. And I did. I passed the second time. But, that moment right there, like, those are the moments that kids miss when a father's not around. And those are important.
I want to
Well, go ahead, guys.
I want to piggyback off Coach K because it was very important what she said about the father being behind you. So growing up, I was kind of a little bit of a daddy's girl. I love my mom, don't get it twisted. She, but I was a daddy's girl. And when I learned to ride my bike, I have a quick story. Um, he was more likely to hold like a little pinch of the seat and just keep me balanced from behind, opposed to hold the steering wheel, pressing me. And mom's like, "Oh, knee pads, helmet." My dad was like, "We're gonna go, let's go," and he'd be like, "Yeah, you got it, you got it." I could hear him, and then at that last moment, he let go, and you get it. You know what I mean? Or when like she said, when we were swimming, the way I learned how to swim, my dad had been teaching me, teaching me, and then one day we got in the pool and he just let me go. But from behind, I didn't see it. I didn't even notice it. But that part of life is so important to build confidence. When we used to go hunting together, when we went fishing together, hey, you have to pull in your own bass. You have to, even though I was scared of the floppy fish, you have to. I didn't like to shoot fur animals, but I like to eat deer sausage. He was like, "You like the deer sausage, so can you take the deer out?" You know what I mean? So those kinds of things where you have to face. And I was always his little princess, his little beautiful princess. So the confidence there was built, by both parents. But that struck me because, yeah, dad was on the danger side. We were on roofs, shingling houses, and my mom was just like, and he was like, "They're fine, they're fine. We're building character here." So, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Go ahead, Cloud.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of the idea of instilling confidence. In my particular example, my dad was the type of person who, whenever I would ask him questions, he would almost refuse to answer the question. Like his thing was just like, use your brain. That was his famous quote, use your brain. when it came to fixing my bike, anything, he would give me the tools to do it. He would direct me in the place to do it. He would drop me off at the library, but he refused to answer the question for me. And for me, what that did is it gave me the tools necessary to find information. It made me not be afraid to take risks when it comes to finding information or trying to do something and get it wrong. And it just put me in a position where I could take care of myself very well, because I wasn't always relying on someone to step in and help me. Like, when I would have issues, on the other hand, and my mom was around, my mom would always try to solve the issue for me. Like, she would always try in some way to fix the issue for me. And when you're a kid, you don't mind it that much. But I noticed that as I started becoming a teenager, it would almost irritate me. Like, I would almost like have this like attitude towards my mom, because it's like something in me doesn't want the help. I don't really want the help. What I really want you to do is push me in the right direction to get it done myself and figure it out on my own. And unfortunately for me, around that time, when I got older, after 18, my father had passed away, like right before I turned 18. So especially from 18 to, like, let's say 21, I had a lot of difficulty finding that motivation, because with the grief I was going through, my mom, her whole instinct was, let me help him, let me fix his problems. And for me, it was like, nah, I need to get on my feet and figure things out, because I don't have my father here to kind of guide me anymore, and I need to kind of take the reins of things. So I definitely understand the value of a father in that way, as far as providing confidence and also direction.
Well, let me say this. As a father, we speak volumes. It speaks louder. Like Coach K said, the mother's in front because she's trying to shield everything from the child. But the father's in back, encourage the child to go ahead, make that move. So, example, as far as my son, or for anybody's son, a mother could be the worst thing for a son if there's no father in her life. And the reason why I say is because she can create a soft man, excuse making man, a man who's scared to really speak up and to stand up on his own. Now, I know some people might not like that, get offended. I don't give a shit. That's true. If there's not a man to sit there and encourage a man to actually speak up, talk, use your words, accept whatever responsibility for whatever mistake you made, then that child's not, because they're always going to look at their mother to bail them out. That's not how it should be. That's not how it should be. So a father, that just shows how vital a father is. So when Coach K said it, I'd say, yeah, that's facts. I've seen it in my own relationship, and how it went. Whenever I'm around, I can see my son playing the side, because he knows who the weakest is. He knows he can go to his mother. He can get anything he wants. But he knows if he come to me, I'm going to tell his ass no. And I have no problem with telling him no. And he knows that. He said, I'm not going to, he ain't going to tell me, you're damn right. I'm going to tell you no, because I understand what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do. So as fathers, we got to make sure we in their life as much as possible. I don't care whatever the relationship is. If you are not with the mother, if you're not married to the mother, if you're not in the same household, regardless, you still need to make your presence felt. Somehow, some way you need to make. I don't care if they're already across a different part of the country. You need to make your presence felt in your child's life at all times, at any time. Because you don't realize how important that is. Like you said, you certain things, like what Cookie said, her father gave her the confidence to ride the bike, and he gave her very little help. That's what men do. We'll give you very little assistance, like Cloud said. He gave him the tools, but he didn't give him the answers. But like with my son, I show you where you can get the answers at. Now I need for you to go to find the answer you're looking for. I gave you information where to look at. You need to go out there and do it. I tell my son all the time, there's nothing wrong with making mistakes, taking L's, as I call them. I said, as long as you don't lose your life, or it will cost you your freedom, you have a chance to make it up. You have a chance to get back. You have a chance to correct whatever it is. So those are part of the life lessons, how important men have it. Our fathers are in part of their lives, because they talk to them like that. And some fathers have to talk rough. You can't always come soft and timid with your kids, because that doesn't work all the time. Because they realize, okay, I can get away with this. I know I got in trouble. I know I shouldn't have been, taking this stuff, too many cookies out of the cookie jar, but I know mama's gonna forgive me. Matter of fact, she might even give me an extra 2 cookies. When dad said, "Why are you eating them cookies? It's wait till after dinner. Let me see you in them cookies, I'm gonna bust your ass." And we'll back it up with action. My mama said, "I'm gonna spank you," and that never happens. But she'll keep threatening you. "I'm gonna spank you. You better not do it. Go to timeout." He don't even go to timeout. He don't get a spanking. He don't get no type of correction because she's just threatening. But if that father's there, he's going to enforce that. He's going to enforce whatever instructions that the mother has set out. So the mother set the instructions. I'm here to enforce them and to make sure they get followed through. And that's another reason why fathers are important.
Can
Can I
I say
piggyback on?
something real quick
Okay, go ahead, go ahead. I'm gonna let you.
about what he said? I think it's funny because even in a two-parent home, we played that whole mother daddy thing. I would make sure when I was a teenager, if it was something that like I really, really wanted, that my dad was nowhere around to interfere with what I was trying to ask my mom. So he couldn't butt in and be like, no, no, we're not doing that. No. So I get what you're saying when moms are like, yeah, they're trying to pacify the kids rather than build character. And I would have a job and be like, Mom, can I get $75? I want to go blah, 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 blah. And my mom would be like, sure, here. But if dad even heard or came around the corner knowing I had a job, he'd be like, you're not giving her anything. What did you do with your check? You know what I mean? So I completely get that part. Like if I wanted something for sure, I went straight to my mom and tried to wait till my dad was like outside or something. That's funny. I thought.
Go ahead, Clip.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, to piggyback off what Hank was saying is like fathers also instill what I would say is like a very healthy level of fear. Like when my mom made threats, or it literally didn't mean like it didn't terrify me in the slightest bit. When my dad made threats, it was different because in subtle ways he could show me like even to when I was a teenager, in subtle ways he could show me like I'm stronger than you, I'm smarter than you, I could handle you. Like stop playing with me. You know what I'm saying? Where your mom, like once you get to teenage age, especially as a man, you kind of start learning how to talk to women. You can kind of run circles around your mom. You can do the charm thing. You're physically kind of bigger than her, so she really can't hit you. And it's like that doesn't work with your dad though. Even when I was his height, it's like I might think I'm strong, but like he was showing me like, nah, bro, this some old man strength. I've been here for a while. Like I could sit your little ass down. And that fear is like when he says come home at 10, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be home at 10 because I might get my ass torn up. Mom says come home at 10. I could slide in 10:30. I could slide in 11. Cause what's she really gonna do besides yap a little bit? And I could deal with the annoyance. I can't deal with that ass whipping. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just want to add really, really just short, just really just a comment. It's just really amazing how you can legit almost pinpoint who has a father who has or who has had have whatever a father in their life, when just by like talking to people and like hearing their responses. It's just incredible how, just by the way people move and the way they react to things, you can tell, like, it's almost never fails that I can call out, who has had an active father in their life or a positive father in their life. So it just goes again to show that yeah, fathers are like that cherry on top. Like it as a whole, it just makes you well rounded, and it just opens your mind to just be so much more open to different things versus if you didn't have a father. So
Yeah, I just want to add to this discussion as well, where it says fathers provide the model. So my biological father wasn't in my life. I am half Nigerian. My father's Nigerian. My mother is American. So the man that provided the model for me was my grandfather. And even though it's not every man's responsibility to be able to step up, I do think that within your family, if you notice that a young man, a young boy, needs to have a father presence, a father role, then if you can step up, you know, and I'm not telling you step up to strangers or something like that, but if you notice, let's say your sisters made a bad decision and your nephew may be lacking a father figure, you know, just try to do something or try to do anything. Because if it wasn't for my father, if it wasn't for my grandfather being the man who he is, then I probably would be, I probably wouldn't be the man I am today. I wasn't never a perfect man, but I did have some things that if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have been able to gain, or I probably wouldn't have been able to handle myself or conduct myself. When I was younger, like all my mother would do was complain. She was a single mother. Like like she was combative. She would get angry and go from like 0 to 10 real quickly. And these are the things that I saw. But if it wasn't for my grandfather being calm and me being around him, then I could have potentially have been just like doing the same things that my mother was doing. And at times I did do that, but I also saw my grandfather and I chose to gravitate more to how he was. So, but I also was able to see how I wasn't able to grab everything, like versus somebody who had the father within the household 24/7. So at some point in time, I did stay with my grandparents and I was able to grab a lot more. But if you are a man and you are present from start to finish, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a better product, especially if you are doing the things that's necessary as a father. So fathers are important. I think men are important. I think men need to step up a little bit more within their families if they notice it. I don't understand how if you see this young man, like whenever you come to the family gatherings, you just seeing him just not listening. He just all over the place. Obviously, the structure is messed up. Obviously, a bad decision was made somewhere. You know the father's not there. That young man needs some type of guidance. So if you can find a time, and it could be once a month, anything will help, then just step up and help within your family. Because again, if it wasn't for my grandfather, then I don't think that I would have had gained a lot of the strength that was necessary to be able to hold a family of my own. And again, everybody's not perfect, but every little thing helps. So a father providing a model is very important. And if you are a father that can step up and assist with some of the responsibility that's out there, then do it.
I think you got a lot. I've never even heard you yell, JR.
I mean, it's all about control, right? I mean, we all have emotions. It's just all about how you can kind of control them. But back in the day, I used to go to the garage and I used to talk shit around and be so fucking angry because I didn't really know how to channel that. You know, I would never, I would always do it in private. You would never kind of catch me spazzing out. I'm just more like I'm over it and I just go to my space and do whatever I need to do to let loose.
Yeah,
But
you're a pretty calm dude,
yeah,
though.
but I seen how um I think I was more concerned of the consequences of the action behind it. So if you used to do something stupid and then I'd be sitting here in the jail cell, like, damn, like I wish I would have had thought before I acted. So even though I was channeling it differently in private, I still understand how a lot of people make like emotional decisions. So I like to look at everything in its entirety. Do I get aggravated? Do I get irritated? Yeah, I'm human, right? But I just choose not to address or express um, where I will regret it later. Have I slipped up a few times? Yeah, I slipped up. But I think the good thing about it is that you can own up to it, admit it, hold yourself accountable, and then move on from there. Don't dwell on it. If it happened, it's happened. But every day that I wake up, I'm able to do a better job at being a man, do a better job at responding, like do a better job at fathering. And I think he made an important factor is that like some people grow up and they never had the model. When he made the reference to like men being good husbands. You know, yeah, anybody can be a husband and they can take on that commitment, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they really knew how to do it. But it also doesn't mean that they can't. So even if you are in a situation where you wasn't able to be the best version of yourself as far as a husband or a father, it's never too late. You know, you can start now. You can read some books. You can speak with some people that have experience. You can, I think one of the most powerful things is just being self-aware of who you are as an individual in every situation that you're in. If you are self-aware and you can understand that criticism is going to come your way. Just take the positivity out of it. Just find something positive in it and stop taking it so personal. Because whenever the truth comes out, sometimes it's hard to hear that truth. But if you're able to channel it in a different way, such as emotions and responses and mistakes and accountability, then I think that we can all be better products when it comes to life.
I want to add really quickly that it's also important to remember that this important role that fathers play is also creating and affecting the men of tomorrow and the dads of future generations. And if they don't have dads, or it does just as much affect women too. So it's like, even if we're not seeing the instant effects now, you will for sure. So it's also important to remember that too.
Girl, we seeing that now.
Yeah, it is
I'm
far
just saying.
easier. It is far much easier to raise young boys than it is to fix broken men. And nowadays, we tend to see a lot of broken men who did not have that structure, who did not have that father figure, or did not have a tribal community to show them, even outside of just father. There are uncles, grandfathers, etc. All men who play a certain role in a position within that family dynamic, right? That help you get to that next step of your life, right? How to evolve. And I think that we need to really bring back that passage from young man to from young boy to manhood, right? We don't really have that or see that play out in a certain way. It does in certain communities, but it needs to be on a national level, right? You need to really, really see that, because you would like to think that there's good faith being set up in certain communities, in certain households, to usher those young men in tomorrow. Because if you don't, you got to stop to think about what type of quality men are we raising to give off to someone else's daughter, right? Like, if we're trying to create a community, or we're trying to create this sense of bringing unity into family and stuff, we need to make sure that we're at least giving them the proper tools, to be the type of man and the type of father they need to be, to lead, their household and also their family.
I do want to go ahead and keep transitioning through these slides. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the sponsor, Teach Hanley. Let's go ahead and keep discussing. It says, fathers create trust. Fathers must be trusted by their children. Fathers must trust their children. Luke 23:46. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. John 3:34-35. 35. The Father loves the Son and has placed everything in his hands. John 5:36. For the very work that the Father has given me to finish, which I am doing, testifies that the Father has sent me. So it says, fathers create trust. Fathers create trust. Let's go ahead and discuss that. I'm going to start with Jay. What are your thoughts, sir?
I believe so. I think that are you talking to me?
My apologies, man. I noticed that afterwards. So either one of you guys can go first and the next one can go after.
I believe so that fathers do create trust. Like, when my father was in my life, I definitely trusted him, with information to get wisdom, that he was going to give me the correct information back. I think that, when he left, I didn't know who to go to. I didn't know who to trust. After he was gone, the most, the father figure I had in my life was a football coach. And I think that's a problem in the community. The only father figures when the father's not around is a football coach, a basketball coach, or a rapper. After the sports is done, then who I got to look at now? So who can I trust? Who can I go for the right information? So I think that's what's lacking. So yeah, I trust. Fathers create trust, but when the father's gone, there is no trust. Who can I go to?
He also made reference to fathers need to trust their children. What are your thoughts about that?
Should fathers trust their children?
Yeah, they said fathers should trust their children.
I don't really understand. Let me see. Must be trusted by their children. Fathers must trust. I don't know about that. It depends. Like, I don't really a young child, I don't think that I would put so much trust into a young child. As you grow and I gave you that information as a father, I would hope that you would carry that out into society. But like I said, as you grow, you have your own personality, you have your own way of doing things. This kind of sounds like a legacy type of question. So there's no guarantee as a father that I instill something into you that you're going to take it off into society, because your child's going to grow and have their own opinion, their own outlook on life. I hope they do, but there's no guarantee.
I think it might be given in bite-sized stages, right? Children that tend to be from 0 to like 6, there's a certain um there's a certain perspective that you instill in them within that age range. And then, you know, from 7 to 12, there's a certain mindset or set of tools or conversations that you instill and teach them, right? Because you understand that they're growing and developing, right? And sort of trying to not give them everything at once, but rather understand that where they are in their development growth, you know, being young kids, kids are going to be kids, right? But you're trying to also weed in these sort of consistent attributes into their life, so they take that with them to that next stage, and right, and you instill more and more and more. I think it becomes overwhelming if people think that they could just give them all the game and all the knowledge that you acquired throughout your life and instill it into a young child and expect them to have the same discernment or thinking that you do. It's wishful thinking. It's only in small doses that you collect them, and hopefully that your steps that you do that are just as solid, to have a good outcome for your child.
All right, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I think trust is developed and earned over time. Naturally, you give them an inch and see what they do with that inch. Then you give them a yard, see what they do with that yard. As far as the father trusting the child, that's something that's developed over time. And it's in stages because, there were times where maybe my dad couldn't trust me, and from my perspective, a lot of him not trusting me came from my fear of him. You know what I'm saying? When you kind of have a fear of your father, there's certain things you don't want to disappoint. At one point, it's being fearful of them, and then as you get older, it's disappointing them. So a lot of things you may keep away from them, or you might do behind their back, or not be as forthcoming because you feel like, damn, man, I don't what he gonna think of me? Is he gonna give me another chance? Or, is the relationship gonna be fractured because I broke his trust? So I think it's stages, and I think the pinnacle of that relationship is when you trust each other, because I'm sure as men we've gotten older, and when you got two lions, you got an older lion and a young lion coming up through the ranks, they eventually gonna bump heads. You're gonna test, you're gonna poke your chest out, and you're gonna get checked. But there are things that we may find out about our fathers that disappoint us. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, well, shit, I gotta check him, or I think I have to check him. But you realize that your father's human, He's human just like you are. You're gonna come up and you're gonna make these same mistakes that maybe he did, and you're gonna be like, damn, I was sitting here, with all this animosity toward him about these things that he did, and I'm going through that same thing. So I think that's the pinnacle of a father-son relationship, is you being mad about something and stuff that you find out, or ways he was moving, and then getting to that stage in your life and realizing, dog, nobody's perfect, because like men are not the enemy, like you were saying. We look at them when we're young, we look at them as superheroes, and to find out, Batman ain't who you thought he was, and it's a lot to deal with, but then once you get past that, that's like the pinnacle of the relationship, where they trust you and you trust them to be human, and y'all are gonna get by.
I hold tight before anybody else speaks. I just got through dropping it down to 720. They said it was choppy. How is it now? Is it better, you guys in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if it's better. Put a 2 in the chat if it's still crackling.
Apparently, it started with me and then it went on to Jay.
Yeah, it started with Luis and now it's Jay.
Do y'all hear it like on the panel? Do I sound choppy to y'all?
No.
Well,
Okay.
I'm getting ones and twos. I'm getting a lot more twos. I'm saying one, maybe it might be better. It's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint it, man. I try not to
Yeah.
start another stream. It's getting a little bit better.
And you didn't sound choppy, Luis, when you was talking. You
Well,
sound
the thing about it is that on the panel we won't hear it. It'll be from
gotcha.
YouTube. So everything has to be going good. That's the reason why kind of say much better. So we're gonna go ahead and keep it going. Jay, you said a point earlier where you said it's steps to trust, right? But I'm kind of wondering, and this is just me thinking, I could be wrong, but if we did better job as parents, right? We have our stuffs together, we have a household in order, we're doing what we're supposed to do before we bring a child in, then it shouldn't be no reason why they wouldn't trust us or we wouldn't trust them. Because I think about the times that my son, he's 18, just graduated, right? But I think about the times that he went against me, and he will often bring up within those arguments about what I did. So if we were like proactive and we did things on the front end, and when we brought children in, we had our stuff in order, then there should be no reason why we couldn't trust our kids and our kids couldn't trust us. If I'm thinking that it correct, if I'm looking at this correctly, right?
I'm
Nah,
looking at it differently. I'm looking at it not so literal. Maybe with the parent, the kid trusting the father. That's something that is nature sent. If he's a real protector, you're gonna trust your father. Like even when my dad was wrong, it was like there's some kind of point in this. I might figure it out later. Um, well, I thought he was wrong. Let me put it like that. Especially when you're going through your teenage years. But the part about the father trusting the kid, I feel like it's more of a broader span than just trust what we're doing or what we're saying. Like I feel like after fathering your child for so long, you have to be able to trust not only yourself and the kid to be able to let them go at some point. I know some people say parenting never stops, correct. But at some point you have to trust your child enough to let them go be who it is that you spent all this time building this foundation for and molding and modeling for. And I think that's where the trust uh the of the child comes in when it's time to let them go, like leave the nest. So that's my opinion though.
but and like this, what JR was saying about, if you're in the, I guess, perfect position when you're bringing a child in the world. I mean, that's correct. But I think even if you have things quote unquote perfect, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be something. You're going to have outside factors, because a lot of the things, and you said that, your son was talking about what you were doing. And I've been there, that child, and there were outside factors. There were grandmother putting a little sauce on it. There was mom putting a little sauce on it. Other people that were around sprinkling their little ideas in my head when I was young and impressionable. So I was carrying around like their animosity, and stuff issues that they had, which is a bad thing too. I compare it to kids, man. You look at kids playing with each other, black, white, Spanish, Asian. They're just kids having fun, exploring. It gets difficult when adults start seasoning their biases and start seasoning their ideologies. And then all of a sudden, little kids, so I think that's another thing. When you have kids, you want to lead them in the right direction, but like Clout was saying, you want to let them kind of figure things out for themselves. You don't want to put your jaded outlook or how you feel this person may have been, or they could have been a better husband, or, and that's the thing too. People get being a good husband mixed up with being a good father. Those are two different things. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of
I
factors
think
that we have to protect kids from.
right. I think that scripture that says train up a child is so powerful, because I know for me, the whole trust thing, like, I mean, I'm not my dad, but I can only imagine, like, okay, if he's literally teaching me and instilling in me everything that I know today, it's like, okay, I feel like he puts trust in me because he feels like he did a good job. And so whatever, all the things that he taught me, he's going to, like, now I have something to rely on as far as like how I solve problems, how I approach different things, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more like, to me, it's more like just trusting as a parent that your child got everything that you gave them, and they have the tools and the experience or the opinions or the whatever, they have that to just go out there and apply it. And I feel like as far as my dad trusted, yeah. And then another thing, like, I know I was always trying, not always, but sometimes I would deliberately do things just to remind my dad that, you know, that he can trust me and that I trust him. And that's just a beautiful thing for me, because we don't always say things as children or as parents. We don't reiterate sometimes, you know, that you love them or that, you know, you're an amazing father. Like, I shoot my dad text messages all the time, like, you did such a great job raising me. I love you. Like, you're everything to me. I remind him every now and again, and I think that's just confirmation on his behalf that he did a good job. You know what I'm saying? Even though, of course, nobody is perfect. There are some tweaks and stuff that I wish I didn't go through. But as a whole, like, yeah, I think that trust comes in. It just, as a parent, like, just being okay and being confident that whatever tools you're teaching your kid, they're now equipped. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I see it.
I got a question real quick. You said the scripture, raise a child in the way they should go. I just want to know your opinion. Is it safe to say, if you've never seen a traditional successful marriage or a proper way to raise a child, how can we expect this person to be able to do it? If I haven't seen a successful marriage in my own household, how can I be expected to have a successful marriage in my own life? If I didn't have a father, how can I be expected to be a good father? I just want to know what y'all thought about that.
Research.
But
I think I actually get that question.
Because kids are visual. I'm watching.
Right.
It's more than just research. I'm watching it because kids learn through watching. So my father's the example. But if he's not there, then how can I mimic that? How can I be successful in that endeavor when I ain't seen it? I haven't been taught this.
Yeah.
So I actually get that question on my platform from men, and I always tell them, you know, there's a truth to it where, you know, I always say a person can't do what they don't know. They can't, if they don't know it, they can't be it, they can't do it. So you are correct. However, that's where the accountability factor comes in, at where you recognize just by the guys that you admire. You know, for an example, LeBron James, a young man who doesn't have a father can look at LeBron James and get some type of sense of what a father looks like, or what a father, the extent of what fathers do, you know? So I think that's, give me a second. I think that's where the accountability comes in, to recognize, and then you teach yourself, you know, there's podcasts, there's books, there's, you know, you don't always have to go to the football coach. Maybe you can go to the corner store, you know, the guy that works at the corner store, you know, who knows? I'm not a man. I can't answer from a man's perspective, but I can from a woman's perspective who's had a father. You know, it's like, there's other examples out there to just get examples from, but you have to know, you have to be wise enough, you have to be real enough with yourself to see your own shortcomings. And then you say, okay, I want to improve in this area. So let me find sources or resources in which I can, you know, bring on those characteristic traits or whatever the case may be.
I want to give
one thing you can do is learn from other people's mistakes, right? You can also do that. You can learn what not to do by watching those foolish mistakes that other people make. You also can have, hopefully, you have somebody else in your family that is married and that is showing a successful marriage that you can go rely on or refer to or put yourself around in certain circles. So you don't, that's another good thing. I don't believe in looking at celebrities. That doesn't do anything for you because their lifestyle is totally different than what you will ever deal with or being involved in. So try to look at people within close in your circle, like I said. Hopefully, maybe your grandfather, your grandmother are still together, and they could give you some of the examples that you need, or maybe your aunts, or your uncles, or cousins, other family members that you may have that can that can give you a good example on what a successful relationship or a successful marriage looks like. Now, I don't know if you're a believer or not. Maybe your pastor and the first lady could give you some type of guidance and show you a good example. But yeah, definitely use those type of reference too as well. Like I said, I don't always believe in going the celebrity route. To me, that's different. But I would definitely use those examples.
I just want to say, because this runs deep, because this can even go to how a man treats a woman in the future. I'm looking at my father. I'm looking at a father figure. So a lot of times how men operate with women could be based off what they seen other men do as well when they were younger. So I just want to address that shit.
I
I
don't want
know
people
that
to.
Lou was trying to get in. Hold on, Cookie. Let me get Lou in there real quick. Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, Hank, 100% with you. You hit it right on the head. You actually took a lot of the points that I was going to bring up. I think that there are examples sometimes within the close proximity of what you're in, especially with family. And I understand that everybody's upbringing is a little bit different. Sometimes family might not be that go-to person, but there is that guy who lives right across the street from you, who works at the post office for 25 plus years and has a wife and has 2 kids and is a productive member in this community. And there are other examples to look at. I think that in today's climate, we tend to kind of lean on a lot of celebrities and a lot of high profile people that we tend to kind of put them up and build them up on a pedestal. And the moment that they fall short or they do something to slip up, because we're all human and we might slip up somehow, that all the cards come crashing down. And so now they're no longer this, prime example to look at. And I think that that's like, almost like how society builds up this like character only to kind of see them fall at some point. And I think that there are a little bit more closer examples closer to you. Another thing is join the men's group. One of the things I advocate is, join a men's group, like a Christian Bible study group, men's, etc. There's a lot of those types of spaces that you could attend. And there are a lot of great examples of married men who are fathers as well.
If I can add really quick, I would say if we look at statistics, the majority of people are not growing up with their fathers or 2-parent households. However, I would encourage every single person, whether it's becoming a father or a husband or whatever they want to do that they haven't seen, don't let that be a reason for you to not achieve that. Because if that was the case, there wouldn't be first generation college graduates. There wouldn't be someone doing anything for the first time. You can learn it. That's what is so amazing about the human brain, is that it allows you to learn anything you want to, but it just may not be in your household or growing up. And it may be a little bit more difficult, granted, for sure. But at the same time, it can be done. You just have to look for it because people are there. And I know for sure those people who are good models for that will give you their time to show you. You just have to ask. So that's what I would say.
I don't want to address. Go ahead. I want to address that comment. Because he said be better than your father. I don't think like y'all understand like the pressure that puts on a young man. Because everything you do now you're gonna be like, okay, is this better than my father? Did my father do this? Like even down to the movements. Like there's certain things I do that I saw my father do, just movement wise. Like if I rub my hands together, he did that. So now I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. So that it kind of adds like an extra mental thing to a man. Got to be better than my father.
I mean,
I think
I was gonna say, I was gonna add that it's an unfortunate reality that we have to acknowledge that unfortunately, the kids often suffer for the sins of the parent, right? So I think that if you can acknowledge that, and you acknowledge that, okay, like I'm in a position where I may be suffering for the sins of my parent, I feel like there's two ways to go about it. Like, not everybody's spiritual, not everybody's religious. So if you're religious, I would say seek your religious counsel. Like, that would be the best way, because that would be the best place to find people who are going to be aligned with the school of thought that you're with, and they're going to give you fathering advice from that perspective. But if you don't have that, I feel like the best way is to just find a mentor. Like, find just anyone that you could look up to, whether it be a big brother, whether it be like just any positive influence at all, and also just weigh what you're going to do based off of what you were missing. So you got to evaluate yourself and say, hey, okay, well, what did I wish I had when I was young? Let's say you were playing basketball and you looked around and there was no one at the game. And you got to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to put my son in basketball and I'm going to make sure I'm at the game. And I feel like that's a good way to counteract whatever you don't know, because you do know what you were missing. You do know those moments where you thought, man, it would be great to have a father right now. And I feel like if you can remember those and self-reflect and duplicate those experiences, you can make sure that your child doesn't duplicate those experiences.
I have a tidbit. I just want to say that I agree with everybody on the panel. I just don't want people to downplay, education and therapy, because all of those things are great, right? But you said something that kind of stanza. Sorry, I couldn't see it small print. I need to put my glasses on. That kind of concerned me. Like, if you're rubbing your hands like your dad, you try not to do it. That's something emotional that you might want to. So you can do all this. You can get all the mentors. You can get all of that, but you have to make sure that you're emotionally prepared to let go of whatever it is about your father that is grinding your gears. If
Right.
that makes sense.
Because I was just addressing the
First.
comment. He said, be better than your father. So it's like, in your mind, you're like, I want to do everything that this guy is not. I want to be the opposite of what he
Right.
is. And then when you start to mimic certain, because you notice it, like you notice what
Mhm.
your father did, and you're like, oh wow, he's doing the same thing. Like, I'm
That's,
doing the same thing he did.
that's
So it's like
small
you're trying to avoid
potatoes,
that at all
though.
costs.
That's small potatoes, and that is an issue. You should be able to rub your hands when you get ready to, no matter when your father did it or if he did it or not. Is my whole point, because it is genetic, maybe, or it's a habit, maybe. But my thing is, the analogy I was going to use is my dad was not. He didn't grow up around mechanics. He did not have that gene. But if something was wrong with his car, my dad bought a book. He would read it. He would then go ask a mechanic, and he would fix it himself. He'd do the work. He'd educate himself on whatever it is, whatever craft that it was that he wanted to succeed at. But that takes the confidence, and you have to get rid of I feel like you need to get rid of whatever is got you feeling like rubbing your hands together. I shouldn't do that because my dad did that. That's not healthy. I just don't think it is healthy. That's all.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
go ahead, Jay.
I think more so don't focus so much on not being your dad. Focus more on being the better version of yourself. If there's things you have to unlearn them. If the Focus on you, not so much on what he did or how he did it, because people are complex. There might be some things that you picked up from him that are great and that serve you well. So don't be so focused on what he did. Focus on what you can do and what you're capable of.
Cause now it's to the point, like my biological father was alcoholic. So now it's to the point, like, even if I have a drink, I'm like, oh man, like, is this why I like it? Is this why I do it? Like, so it's a mental thing too. So that's why I said I just want to address that comment that JR put on the thing, be better than your father. So it kind of adds a pressure to a man who's trying to be better. Cause if you're comparing yourself to your father, then that's your standard.
Being
Yeah,
better.
but like Jay was saying, not everything your father did is bad. Not everything. Again, we don't know as a whole. I don't know. I'm just assuming not everything he did was bad. Now it may remind you of him and maybe like Cookie said, you probably need to go to therapy. I did it myself, man. So I can relate. It took me a couple years to get over that, but I didn't do it for. My main reason was for my kids because I didn't want them to miss out on the relationship with their grandfather just because I didn't have a good one with them. So, but it also helped me in the same time of me going. You know what I'm saying? So that was some good advice about going to get some therapy. But I want to speak on what we was talking about as far as parenting. To me, you should parent your kids from 0 to 13, and from 14 on up, you should be coaching your kids.
Right.
Because by then they know the morals, they have the understanding. That's when the trust start to kick in when I'm coaching you. Because now I gave you the tools from 0 to 13. You have the tools. You know right and wrong. You understand what's good and what's bad. From 14 on up to adulthood, I'm coaching you now. So when you do make the mistake, I'm saying, hey, why did you do that? What could have you done differently? What would have probably been a better decision? Oh, you made a bad investment. What are you going to do to fix this? What are you going to do to break even, to get into black? Different stuff like that to coach your kids. To me, that's what I think the best probably method of doing it. Because I think Cookie said you always gonna parent. No, you're not always gonna parent kids because we know when we parent, and more likely you're lecturing your kid, and not no grown ass man or woman don't want to be lectured. That's the worst thing you do to a grown person. So, but you can coach them, you can instruct them, and kind of guide them and direct them in other ways.
All right, I do want to get to.
Can I say one more thing real quick? It's like 5 seconds. Hey, Stanza, just because somebody's telling you to be better than your dad was doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't mean to be nothing like him. I just wanted you to understand that. I look young, but I'm older, so I don't know how old you are, but I'm just saying that like from my heart. Just because better doesn't mean nothing like. It just means better. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel it's just like, well, depending on the situation, my situation, I don't want to be nothing like he was, because to me it wasn't nothing I could look up to. And a lot of guys my age, I'm 26, a lot of men my age and younger, they come from that. They don't have no man. Their followers nobody to look up to, so they're trying to shape that image.
I
So
understand.
like that's tough because that's the standard, but then you don't want to mimic anything he does. But it could be genetic.
Like I said earlier, learn from his mistakes. Learn from his mistakes. He created a blueprint, whether you want to agree with it or not. He created a blueprint that you can follow. By his mistakes, every mistake he's made, you watch him and you learn from him. You document him, mental document. If that's what you need to do, make him documents of what he did wrong, and you don't do that. Don't do that. Now, like I said, everything he did wasn't always negative. It's not negative to rub your hands together. That doesn't. A lot of people rub their hands together,
No,
right? It's not negative to do that.
Not even that deep. It's like he wore like boots. Now I'm getting older. I'm wearing boots. He wore a certain
Yeah, but I don't know if he. I don't know if he did that because he wore. Maybe because for your job or for style. I don't know why you made it. I wouldn't put everything just because he did it. You on it. Yeah.
Style. Like his
I got
style,
you.
I'm starting to mimic his style as I get.
Okay, well, and that happens. That happens, right? But again, use him as a blueprint of negativity. Learn from all the mistakes he made. Again, document it. Do the opposite. This dude was a grandfather. I'm gonna be the best father I can be. That's how you're gonna be better than your father, by being the best father, being the best communicator with your girlfriend, maybe your wife one day. I don't know. Do the opposite of what he did negative. Now, I'm not telling you do the opposite of everything because I know he didn't do everything wrong. But the negative stuff that he did wrong, do the opposite and use that as your blueprint.
If you don't want to do therapy right away, maybe you could journal about him or something. Maybe write him some letters or something like that. But definitely don't be so critical to the point where you're like, why am I wearing boots? Well, you'll drive yourself crazy. It's not.
Yeah. I want to just add really quickly, whatever the examples are, that example, okay, I do this, he did this. No, you're not. Back up and ask yourself, what am I making this mean? So what does this mean? You get to decide that. Okay, so just ask yourself, what am I making this mean? That's always helpful too. But
yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just ask questions, man. I mean, it's okay to question things that your parents are doing. If it doesn't make sense to you, then ask them why you do it that way, and then you're able to kind of see if it makes sense for you to do it that way. Because you may be on to something, you may have a better way. So you may be like, how come you always take the trash out and then put the bag in when you come back? Why don't you just take it out and put the bag in there right then? He may explain something that may be like, oh, okay, I see. Or it may be like, that's stupid. Like if I'm sitting right here from one way out and I'm about to take it out, come back in, put the bag, then leave back out. I'm just going to put the bag in there, do it all right here. And then when I leave, I can just stay out. So just always ask questions. It's okay to ask them. We all human. And there may be better ways. Some people adopt traditions, and all traditions don't necessarily mean that they're good. So we got to keep it pushing, you guys. Let me go ahead and get to these super chats.
Okay. I want to add one thing to that.
Everybody been saying they got to add one thing, man. And next person, they got to add one thing. I need 5 seconds. I need 3. I need 2. Can I get a 10? Can I get a 12? Somebody said they need 13.3 seconds. So
hey, don't forget the real quick. Don't forget the real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I just wanted to say one more thing. I really wanted it. Dedicated to my children's future. $20 says Sunday Energy. Happy Father's Day, gentlemen. Thank you. Marcus Evans, $5 says, what's going on, everyone? Happy Father's Day. Y'all the best. Y'all are appreciated. Thank you, Marcus Evans. Edward Gilbert, $5. From my one father to the rest, Luke Kings. Thank you, sir. Marcus Evans again, $5 said, this was a great topic. Great point, Brother Hink. Clement Gray, $10 also member says, better to learn from parents' mistakes than to follow on their same path. Fathers, it's best to be honest and tell our children the mistakes you made. If we don't know our past, we are bound to repeat. And then also, too, one thing I learned is that when people tell stories, always listen to the truth within stories as well. So it is, you can learn a lot about somebody. Got to thank Kelly for that, because she did say when you tell stories, then that's how you learn a lot about people as well. So make sure you guys do that. With that being said, hit the like button, found out, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I promise it wouldn't be a long show, so I'm going to go ahead and go through a couple of these slides at once, and then we'll go ahead and top it off. The next slide is the father model for all men. The greatest crisis for men is the absence of fatherhood models. A man cannot deliver what he never had. We demand from men what they cannot give. What do you do if your earthly father was a failure? And we have the scriptures right here. Matt says, 48, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. The next one I want to bring up as well is fathers provide work. The fathers provide vision, purpose, work ethic. John 5:17 says, my father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working. John says, I have brought you glory on earth by completing the work you gave to me to do. 5, it says, and now, Father, glorify me in your presence. So let's go ahead and discuss that real quick on the father model for all men, and fathers provide work. Anybody else you can add on to it. I'm not going to go around and ask everybody, but if you have something that you would like to contribute to this conversation, then go ahead.
Like I said earlier, there is a lack of fathers in the community. If it's not your coach, your basketball coach, football coach, when sports is over, who you looking at? Basically, in the community, entertainers. You're looking at rappers. You're looking at actors. People at the barbershop at best. Like I said earlier, if you haven't seen it, you don't come from that. A traditional household, how can you mimic that? You could YouTube it, you could Google it. It's different when you're in it. It's different when you're seeing it in person. So you're expecting me as a man to mimic something that I don't come from. And to me, that's an unrealistic expectation.
It's on you, Clout.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's up to, as far as what you're speaking on specifically, Stanza, I think it's partially up to older men, you know what I'm saying, to be able to identify the younger men that they could kind of put their arm around and offer some game to. And I think it's up to, you guys in your age range to outsource, to look for it. Like if you see somebody, pick their brain. How did you get there? How did you do this? How did you deal with these situations? Just stuff that is closer to what you're looking for, that serves you. College, there's professors, there's, fraternities, there are a lot of groups of men that, have a positive impact. So you kind of just gotta look for it, keep your eye open for it. Coaches is not a bad thing, man. A coach is not a bad thing, but you definitely don't want to get it from the rappers because they're probably in the same situation, fatherless, and they're out there acting that out, and you don't want to use that as your example. You want to go to somebody that kind of has a little more wisdom and is not so much trying to figure it out actively, somebody that's been through it. So, I mean, keep your eye open. I know as men, it's hard to ask for help, or it's hard to, see a dude and be like, yo, what do you do? Or
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. As men, what we're told, what's the 2 words? Man up. Man up.
Yeah.
That's what they tell you. That's it. There is no advice. There's no kind words. There's no guidance. Like, yo, man up. And if people see you, if your homies see you down, what they do? Man, you tripping. Get out your feelings. That's what it is nowadays. There is no like OG coming nowadays, putting your armor. Hey, man, you doing this wrong. Let me check you on this. It's
No, you got to change your circle, then, dog. You got to change your circle because that's not the case. You talk to me, I'm gonna tell you more. I'm gonna tell you man up as well, but I'm gonna give you reason behind why I think you should man up. Are you not doing this? Are you not doing that? You're moving wrong, dog. You're not moving professional. That's not the smart thing. That's a bad investment. I'm gonna tell you that because I'm gonna be upfront and right with you. I want to see black men win. That's my goal. I want to see black men win. I don't care how old or young you are. You can always be advised. Hey, look, I came up closed mouth, don't get fed. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's what I was told. And that's how I move. I don't have no problem acquiring anybody. Nobody's above reproach. Even your goddamn pastor, he could be asked, why are you preaching this? Why are you saying this? Why are you sharing this message? What is this? What's going on? Talk to me. I need to know. I need clarity. I need understanding. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you come in a respectful, with a respectful tone, and you come, with a good heart, and you real about what you asking. Nobody's probably going to close doors to you. I'm sure they'll help you. Like I said, as long as you come with a respectful and a good approach, you come with a good heart, you come from a good place. When you ask it, you're not just to try to be insulting or disrespectful. Nobody's not going to be willing to help you. Now, if they're not, change your circle, change who you with, change who you're around, change your environment, dog.
I just want to say,
I love that because I was just about to say, if that's the response that you're getting, I think the demographic, the area, the circle that you're running in is not the right. Cause you know how they go through calling dudes old school. I mean, I don't know if you know where. I don't know wherever you are, but I know in Houston it's like, oh, what's up, old school? And those are the older men in the community, and they're usually telling some kind of story. They're always talking, right? And my dad was that guy. So I can tell you in the right circumstances, in the right place, you can find the right type of male, black, white, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you prefer black, that's cool. Where you can find, but you have to put yourself in the right rooms, in the right position to come across these types of people. Because that man up excuse it's not okay. It's not, especially with somebody young like you. It's like man up, and then what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I need some instructions, and you're looking for instructions out of a book that doesn't provide instructions, out of a novel opposed to an instruction book. So you just got to move around and make sure you surround yourself with people, probably older gentlemen. Even the places you go out, the places that you have fun, change them and go to some lounges, go to where these men are just sitting around. There's some places where men just sit around and all they do is talk. You know what I mean? So you just have to change up the way you're living and who you surround yourself with. So I 100% agree with Hank. I'm not gonna.
Look, go
I'll
ahead.
give you a couple places, man. Go to McDonald's between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. and go to the barber shop between 8 and 1 o'clock. You'll find some OGs there talking shit, talk about the old days, and just pay attention and listen, take notes. And then when they talk about a subject that you can relate to or that pertains to you, ask. But you can't be scared to ask. Like
Ask
I said,
questions.
if you come in a respectful manner, they gonna oblige you. They say, listen here, young blood, and then they gonna run it by you.
Talk
I
to
mean,
the old head.
I did want to speak up real quick and just chime in on this. And let me go ahead and bring Cloud back up again. But I just wanted to say that's the reason why I speak to the men. I think that we can start making changes. I think that there's a lower percent chance of us just going to tell kids that's already been traumatized, oh, just go do this, just go here, just do that. Yeah, we can tell it to them, but sometimes it may not be that easy. So that's why I think that we can try to say who we can and what we can when it comes to our children, and we never give up. But I think a lot of stuff starts within our house. So we can make some immediate impacts with the children that's within our households right now and the young men that's around us. So if we start there, then I think everything will eventually start to get better. I think it's hard for us to really kind of go outside and try to reach people, or either tell somebody like Jay Stanza, just go here. Still tell it to them, but also keep in mind that we got to be doing the work. The work starts with us. And then once we start doing the work, then hopefully within the next like 5 years, we'll start to see it get better. We'll start to see more nuclear families. We'll start to see like the kids going downtown Chicago terrorizing everybody. You know, we'll start seeing less shootings and so forth. So just start there, focus on within arm's reach, within you can, like the nieces, the nephews, the first cousins, and our own children.
I just want to say something real quick. I could be wrong, but especially in our community, we see each other as men. Like I said, I could be wrong, but we see each other more as competition instead of like a brotherhood. Like, oh, I want to beat you. I want to outdo you. I'm trying to take your spot instead of saying, all right, let me show you the way. And that's how it comes. To me in our community, that's how it comes off. I want to take your spot. Or I want to beat you. I want more to you. I want to step on you instead of love. That's what I.
Well, like it's gonna always be somebody out there like that. So
Where do you mind me asking where you are?
Oh, I'm in Atlanta.
Oh.
So you're saying that there's a more of
it's competitive. Even the OGs is out here with us.
Nature.
Yeah.
A more of a competitive nature amongst us, as opposed to
the OGs is. I went to the club last night. The OGs with us too. They outside too. So it's not like they looking for the same things we looking for.
Yeah, Atlanta is different in that regard.
Yeah.
Man. Like the
Earlier in the morning,
psychology.
they didn't have OG.
Move, Stanza. Just move, my God.
Well, they say the same
No,
thing.
but
They say the same thing about Chicago too. They say Chicago people like to kind of keep things to themselves, and they don't like to help the next person.
right,
You know, they always trying to one up. I think it's everywhere.
right.
We can only speak to the places we live in, and I do see it in Chicago where you have these cliques that's around, and they'll look for each other. They'll look out for each other within that clique. But if you don't fall within those circle, if you don't have that status, then it's just kind of they looking at you like, who are you? You know, we real secretive about information. It's enough room for everybody.
It is.
And that's why I say just start within your house. You know, start within you being a role model. If you want to give information out for free without having to do all the extra stuff, then you just do it. Lead by example, start there, and hopefully your children will see you doing it, and then they do it. And then hopefully the people that's around you that are inspired by you seeing you do it, maybe you was doing it wrong and they see a change in you, and then they start to mimic it. If you focus on being your best, like I was talking to one of the little homies, and I said, look, man, you don't always have to advertise what you're doing. Like whenever you do your work, if you do the best that you can do, and you do like good customer service, you focus on giving out good work, then it's gonna speak for itself. You don't have to sell it. Because guess what? When they see it, they're gonna be like, I like that, and then it's word of mouth. And his business is growing strictly off of word of mouth with no marketing, because whenever he steps into the arena and him doing whatever it is he's doing, he's giving it his best. So if we give our best selves, our best versions to life, to the world that we living in right now, then people always watching us. They're gonna see it. You don't have to speak about it. It's gonna sell itself.
Can I add really quick too? I think, and I get what you're saying, Jay Stanza. Also, what I found, like, there's one person that comes to my mind where she imitates exactly how I would want to be in terms of a wife and mother and etc. And it's like, if she doesn't, fulfill all the things that I'm trying to learn, I can pretty much guarantee that she knows someone else because she's already like aligned with the values or, so whatever it is you're looking for, I'm sure, even if you just find one person, I bet they can connect you with someone else. It's like a ripple. So just to add that.
I think it helps to be able to also like find the difference between like status and character, because I feel like in the time we live in right now, status speaks a lot louder than character. And so because of that, it gives young men don't know who to follow after or who to emulate. You're seeing the guy with like the Rolls Royce, the chains, the Gucci fit, whatever the case is, and that's who they want to emulate because that person has status, but you don't necessarily know the character that person has. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes the people with the best character are extremely quiet. So I think it's really about developing the skills to be able to, I guess, pick up on people's character and judge them based off that. And once you learn how to do that, you'll be able to put yourself around people with the right character. Sometimes that might even require you to completely ignore status entirely, because status can be a huge distraction. There could be a guy that works as a janitor. He might not have that much money, but he might have a great relationship with his wife. He might have all his bills paid. His credit might be great. He might have his home in order. And then there's another dude who's flashing cash on Instagram, but he got cops chasing him. He got 20 people that want to kill him. He got 20 baby moms and he ain't taking care of his kids. So sometimes it really takes for us to ignore the status, which is really hard because especially for men, status is kind of what we try to achieve. So,
Stanza, do you have kids?
I wanted to.
Do I? No, I
Stanza.
don't have kids.
Okay. Do you might want to start with just writing your own story, like going to go mentor yourself and telling your story to other kids and gravitating towards other children? Because I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, and children themselves teach you a lot about what they want and what they need, and it'll build your character and a lot of things like that. So you might want to look into like a Big Brother program, and in that way you could meet other people, other males as well in the program that are doing things like that. But I know it seems corny, but at the same time, if you want to put yourself in the right circles, you do have a story to tell. That's all.
I just want to say to Jay Stanza real quick.
Okay,
can I say something to Jay Stanza?
It's not the enemy. Say something. I want to go ahead and get back to the
father. So thank you, JR. What I want to say to Stanza is you have guys right here on this panel. Like, God has allowed you in this room. I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't even send you elsewhere. I would just say, get more connected with Lapeef. Like he just said, he's a father. He is he is beating all odds of the statistic of not having a father. And now he's a great example of a man, a father, etc. So you are right now on a panel right now with fathers or men that look just like you. So just look, get better connected with where God has you at right now. And I will also, just to pour back into you, is that's why I created Men Are Not the Enemy. Because it says that no matter what type of, it could be your father, your uncle, your little brother, whatever the case may be, whether you're a woman or a man, Men Are Not the Enemy says you take individual accountability, despite of the circumstances of whatever a man has done to you or you've experienced with this particular man. For an example, your father. It just says, okay, just because my dad is like this, or just because I didn't have a dad, it doesn't mean that I have to be this way. As Cookie said, you can write your own story. And I just want you to know that, like, you can be, I think the comment you said earlier was somebody to be better than your dad. No, just be a better you, like be better than you yesterday. And that's just what I wanted to give you.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to this last slide real quick. I appreciate the advice for Jay Stanza. Hopefully, Jay Stanza can take something from it. His last says, "Fathers provide inheritance." Has a Luke. It says, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom." He has Luke then 31. "My son, the Father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." Luke again in 9, it says, I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me." So fathers provide inheritance. I'm gonna go to Luis. What are your thoughts about that? You're on mute, just so you know. You're still on. Yeah, you're not clicking off mute.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've been glitchy. Could you pull up that image again? I want to reread that last section. And I confer on you a kingdom, just my Father conferred one on me. Well, I mean, could it be said that a father does create sort of a safe haven for their children? You know, I, because we tend to kind of we and I included myself. I've always used the moniker. Fathers protect. Fathers provide. Fathers are the first line of defense. You know what I'm saying, in a household. They keep sons out of jails and daughters off stripper poles. And there's that sort of that presence that is always there to kind of pull you back into that same safe haven of kingdom. They always have that boundary line, and sort of I think it's one of the things that I kind of take away from that, at least for me, is that they set the foundational principles for your development. They set that foundational direction, and then in that there are certain boundaries that they create, and sort of they're instilling their values, and they're teaching you what that looks like and how that shows up in your life. So, just wanted to share.
All right. Anybody else want to add to this?
I do.
Go ahead, Jay.
That depends on the man. The inheritance. Can you inherit? Yeah, if your father has something. My father died alone in New York City in an apartment. I don't get that apartment. The state get that apartment. I ain't inherit nothing. Well, he got record collection. Okay, cool. I didn't get it. The state got it. So it all depends on the man if you inherit something. If your parents don't have nothing, you ain't gonna inherit anything. So it just depends on the man.
But could it be said that you inherit values as opposed, because tangible things will come and go. Like we could pass down assets, we could pass down property, we could pass down all these intangible things. But the thing that nobody could ever take away from you is the value systems that your father and your parents instilled in you. They cannot take that away from you. Everything else could be burnt down, taken away, replaced, but those value systems you carry with you, through your life, and you can be able to pass those down. Right? That's currency right there. That right there is a form of currency. Everything else will come and go and reappear back in your life with due time, but the value systems that you've instilled have been instilled in you. Those you could always pass down, and you're always gaining more wisdom, especially when you circle yourself around other councils of men.
I just want to say, like, I agree with most of what Luis said, but I just want to add something also separate, which is when it comes to that idea that a father creates an inheritance, like that's something I feel very strongly about. And I look around at the condition of the world that we're in right now, and for me, I I personally feel, and even the Bible says, it says a good man leaves an inheritance not just for his children, but for his children's children. And I genuinely believe, personally, this is just me, and I know this is a strong thought. A lot of people won't agree with this. I don't believe that a man should be reproducing until he has established an inheritance for his children or his children's children. I genuinely believe that it is right and just for a man to work and build something first, before something that that if he was to die today, could leave something for his children and his family. If you can't do that, I genuinely don't believe you have any business being married. I genuinely don't believe you have any business having children, because what happens is it produces a bunch of children that they don't have an inheritance, so now they're dependent upon the system. They're dependent upon the environment around, and now they have to go into the system where there's an inflation constantly changing, where values are constantly changing, and they have to adjust themselves to the system in order to work for the system and extract value from it, when they should already be sitting on value that they can now grow, that they can now reproduce. So I know it's, again, a lot of people might not agree with this, but I genuinely believe that a good father, a good man is absolutely leaving an inheritance to their children. And if you die and your children don't have anything, they don't have a place. If you die and your children don't have a place to live that they can pass down, they don't have some land that they can pass down, they don't got some stocks, some investments, something that they can pass down, I think you failed, in my opinion.
But let me say this, Cloud. I think the knowledge and the is probably one of the most important things a father can leave a child, more than a house, any money, property, or whatever. If I could leave you value life lessons, uh, knowledge, yeah, I'll take that over any amount of money or house or inheritance any day. You know, it's nice, like they said, but like Luke said, it comes and goes. Material stuff comes and goes. A house can come and go. If I don't teach you the values, you may not be able to maintain a house. You mess around, have to sell your house because you didn't maintain financial wherewithal that you should have been passed down to you. So that means nothing. You mess around, have to sell a house to pay your bills because you so far in debt that you shouldn't be in that way. If this man taught me the financial literacy that I need, the financial education and financial wherewithal, it
Look,
means
I
nothing.
agree.
That point, right?
I agree with everything you said about values. So I don't disagree that values are extremely important. However,
Mhm.
I would not agree with the point that material is nothing. Like values and
No,
knowledge are
I didn't
important.
say that.
But
I didn't say
for
it's
example,
nothing. I said it, but
you
I
said
said it
those things
means
are
more
nothing.
to. No, I said it means more to me.
Okay. Well, I would agree that value, again, the values and knowledge and information is fantastic. I think it's extremely important to hand those things down. But if we're being realistic, like, you can't eat knowledge. Like, you can't sleep. You can't sleep under knowledge. And if you don't even have tools or ways to implement that knowledge, then the knowledge is absolutely useless. So it's like, again, I'm not disagreeing that a father should hand down those important life values. But those values, unfortunately, those things are not physically tangible. And I feel like a father should also provide physically tangible things for their child as well. Like, I don't think
I
they need
agree.
to be separate. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree with
But
you.
I know if I had the values and knowledge, I'm never going to go hungry. That won't be a problem
But if you're
because I.
hungry, you ain't focused on the values and knowledge. But respectfully, my fault.
Well, Hank, let me get in here for a second.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I, I understand where both of you are coming from, and I agree with you, Hank. But I also could understand Clout Jones, because I think that, you know, uh, work without proof, you don't have something to go off, right? You need that tangible, and sort of like, if I instilled in my child, like, okay, your uncle just gave you $100. This is what we're gonna do with it. You know what I'm saying? 20% goes into this, 20% goes into that, et cetera, et cetera. We want to teach you about the basics of economics, about saving, about investing. This goes into your, school supply. This goes into this bank, or this goes into this pot, right? And you start to kind of teach them that discipline about money. What is money? How it's used? It's a vehicle and it's a tool, right? And then you start talking about other forms of vehicles that they could utilize in the future. You set them up with a Uniform Miners Act account. You set them up with a UGMA account, right? You set it up with a miners LLC account, right? And you tell them what these things are and how they're used, right? And sort of, you're teaching them, but you're also doing it with them. So you're both participating. They're seeing it being done, they're seeing it in real time, and there's something tangible. So the lesson comes along with the reward. But In the event that they shall fumble that or something happens, they have the lessons to go back to start over and create something from scratch. Because a lot of young kids get a trust fund at 18, but they never know how to get $1 million. They have $1 million trust fund, but they don't know how to make $1 million, right? And then they blow through it, and then now they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, because they're dependent on somebody feeding them, as opposed to someone had instilled them the lessons of how to feed themselves and everybody around them. And I think that's right there the valuable point. I see the lesson, but also understanding the steps of how to do that with a reward at the end.
I want to add really quick too, that while material stuff, of course, inheriting something. I mean, I don't think a lot. I would say it's probably a very small percentage of Americans that do inherit something from their parents, whether it's a house or whatever. But with the lessons and the information and the knowledge, just the father's involvement. I mean, just looking at this graph right here about, college isn't always, it's not always the way, whether it's trades or whatever, but whatever type of future, the dad's involvement is huge in helping that child, acquire whatever success, which does bring material wealth, success in the long run too. So I just wanted to add that, whatever they're inheriting, if they are inheriting those skills and that dad's involvement and his guidance, they're going to be a lot better off in the long run.
I lost my dad a year ago. First of all, my mom got his money because that's how that's supposed to go. But he left us things that he knew we valued, memories. I got a couple of the boats. My sister's got some other things, pool tables, stuff like that. But none of that matters to me because I have it tattooed on me. I'm Bert's daughter. The blood flowing in my veins, the memories that I made, the lessons that he taught me about this world and this life, how people could be, the way he taught me to work consistently for what I want, to lily pad towards my goals, like hop until you get to that final lily pad, and those kind of things. Survival instincts in this world are more valuable to me, unless I'm out on the lake, than the boats and the money and the cars and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, that can all be taken away in a second. But what's inside of you, like you're half of this person that is just left. Furthermore, we're all adults. And I just don't believe in adults sitting waiting around to receive money from their parents. Like I find that funny. Like I do. I think that us sitting here talking about inheritance over the age of 21, inheritance should not be your main concern. It should be the fact that eventually you'll turn into the parent because your parents will get old, hopefully, and you will have to take care of them and make sure they're okay, like I did in the last years of my father's life. So, fathers provide inheritance, yeah, maybe, but the inheritance is not always going to be monetary. Um, that's just all I have to say about it, especially if you're a grown man. I mean, I can see, like, my dad he was a girl dad, so yeah, he left us stuff. My brothers got absolutely nothing. They got nothing, but he taught them how to build their own wealth as well, though. So I don't know. Maybe it's just my family.
I think
Right.
I get a lot of what you're saying. I think that's kind of looking at
Yes,
inheritance from the perspective of the receiver of the inheritance, which I'm not really talking about like the perspective. Like I agree that the child should not be concerned with the inheritance, but I absolutely think that the father should be concerned with the inheritance. Like your children shouldn't, like you shouldn't die and your kids have to do a GoFundMe. Like things like that don't make sense to me. You shouldn't die and your kids are left with $200,000 on a mortgage that they can't pay. Like you shouldn't die and there's a car note on your car and your kids gotta get the car repoed because you got bills left over. And unfortunately for a lot of parents, that's the case. A lot of parents even leave their kids with debt. And to me, I personally think that that's not wise as a parent. Your whole purpose as a parent, your whole purpose for having children is to put them in a position that's better than you, to put them in a position that's better than what you grew up in. So to leave them in a situation where your life ends and they have less than you had, to me makes no sense. They should have the sum of what you built in your life plus what they were able to attain in their life. And when they die, they should be able to take the sum of what you left plus the sum of what they made and give that to their kids. And that's how you create generational wealth and give people the footing to actually master this world as opposed to being a slave to it. So that's just how I see it.
I mean, I could agree with that because in 2023, nobody should not be without some type of form of life insurance enough to bury you. I shouldn't be happy selling goddamn fish dinners and chicken dinners at the church in order to put my ass in the goddamn dirt. Yeah, I'm a selfish motherfucker. And any parent who does that, you a selfish motherfucker. So on Father's Day, I'm telling you, you selfish motherfuckers need to get a goddamn life insurance policy to bury your ass. It don't have to be something that's going to be extravagant. You're not trying to make the kids rich, but at least enough, minimal enough to bury your ass. So if it means you need to go down to a funeral home and find out what it's going to cost you to buy a plot, what it's going to cost you to buy a casket, what it's going to cost you to host the damn thing, do it. If that means you have to go to a church and host it and have some type of donation for the church, so be it. You know, make sure you pay the pastor if that's what you believe in. Or pay the choir or the whoever's going to sing at your funeral. You know, give a love offering to the church, whatever the case may be. Find out all of that information. Have that money. Have that amount of money for your life insurance policy. Let your family know what you want to be done, how you want to be done. They shouldn't be coming into the situation where your kids are arguing and fighting. Well, I want to cremate my daddy. No, I think we should bury him. No, that shouldn't be the case. Get you a living will. Create that so the family knows and inform the people who needs to be informed, whether it's your wife or your longtime girlfriend, if that's what you want to call them. I don't know. Inform your kids, let them know what your plans are and move accordingly. If you don't do that, then you're just being selfish. And so whatever happens to you, of course, you ain't gonna give a shit because you dead and gone. It's gonna happen. They might just put your ass in a goddamn box and ship your ass out to sea. I don't know.
Or you in a funeral home.
It's called mortgage insurance. If you have a home, get mortgage insurance, pay it every month. If you pass away, your mortgage insurance will pay off the home that your wife is living in after you pass away. Fathers, throwing that out there. There's a such thing as mortgage insurance as well.
Anybody else want to chime in on this?
I'm gonna say this real quick. This might hurt some feelings. Don't go and buy Beyonce tickets. Go and pay for that financial literacy course, man, at the local community college. Invest your money wisely into the things that you want to see grow. Don't go and buy tickets to go to an event that is like 3 times your rent or mortgage, right? Go invest that money into literacy. Understand different financial vehicles to utilize to put your money in and to invest. A lot of people just don't know how to properly put money in certain spaces to invest in themselves and their family. So I just wanted to say that.
Stocks are cheap right now, by the way.
Very. It's a fire sale, ladies and gentlemen.
Throwing it out there.
Is it going back up?
Eventually.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when the market turns, it will.
Yeah, probably in like 2
Fingers
years.
crossed to be patient.
But it's a fire sale right now.
Yeah, I don't know what banks people use for. I'm a Fifth Third guy, so right now they offer 4.7 interest if you keep at least a minimum of $25,000 or more into your account. That is great. Invest in that. Put your money in that. 4.7. God damn. You better, if you make smart moves. Now, you got to at least have a minimum of 25,000. I don't know if people have it, but if you do, look into that.
Wait, Hank, like I thought Apple was coming out with something, no?
Fuck Apple. You know how I feel about that, JR. You doing that shit on purpose.
No, seriously, I thought Apple was coming out with some type of
$3,000 goggles.
No, I ain't not talking about that. I thought it was
bad investment.
It was one of those companies that was coming out with their own, I think, debit card, or it was.
Well, Apple already has a debit card already with the Apple Pay.
I'm not saying that somebody was coming out with where they had some type of percentage you can gain.
I haven't heard. When you find out, let me know though.
Yeah, I'm about to look that up, man.
I think y'all making this shit up.
No, I'm not making that. I seen it. I was just like, damn. It's probably strategic, but it was some. I thought it was Apple. It could have been somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like I said, me, Lou, and B9, we chopped this, and buddy mine, Vic, we chopped this up on the basic, man. We chopped this up, come about financial literacy and educating not only yourself but your children. We talk about this, man. It's a must, especially as a Black community. We all know our parents more than likely wouldn't pass it down the financial knowledge that we really need. You know, they barely know how to balance a goddamn checkbook. So I encourage anybody to take some type of courses, whether it's online or in person at some of these community colleges. They have those courses real cheap. You know, it's not expensive. My son, he's going on year 2 of financial and business accounting and financial literacy. And I told him, I said, matter of fact, take it a step further. Take a course in college. That's an easy A for you. You already have this knowledge. Easy A. Why not increase your GPA by taking this course and get an A on your GPA? That helps you. And you may learn something while you're in the midst of taking that class. Take it a step further. It's a must. Well, I mean, unfortunately, his coaches pick his classes. I don't know if any athlete knows your coach is more likely to pick your classes. You got to buck your coach and say, hey, coach, I want to take it. I know it's what happened down in Murray State with us. So
it's academic advisors, but yeah, the coaches tell them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good free. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
there's a lot of free content too out there. That's how I first started learning even about investing, was just podcasts. And I mean, obviously be smart about it. Don't just willy-nilly, do stuff, but what is it? Cross-examine or whatever. Still talk to someone that you trust. But yeah, there's a lot of free, valuable information out there, and it's just up to you to want to do it. So, and you can do it, but you just have to want to. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get us up out of there, man. I got a few more super chats right quick to get through. Clement Gray, $10. Also remember, says better to learn from parents' mistakes than to follow. And then did I read this already? Okay, not familiar. Clement Gray, $2 says barbershop. All types of men learn from. I'm just saying. Yeah, you can learn a lot in barbershop talk. Jay, I think IG has been hacked. No, it hasn't been hacked. Somebody created a page, and I've been getting notifications all day about it. So if you guys receive something from Lapeef.jr, that is not me. So please report it. I think it may be down. I'm not sure, but if you see anything from it, just go ahead and report it. With that being said, it was a great show. I'm hoping a lot of people have been able to gain something from it. Maybe you were able to identify some problems within your household, or you as a man, or you as a father. Maybe you have been able to identify some things from the mother's perspective of some you can change or learn and incorporate within your household. That's what it's all about. Great show, much needed. Shout out to all the fathers that's out there. Happy Father's Day. Y'all enjoy yourselves, and this is our day, and we're going to make sure we acknowledge that. I'm not going to give it away. This is our day. It's our day. Men only. This is our day. If it's a father out there, y'all make sure y'all acknowledge.
Hell yeah.
Make sure
Hell yeah, JR.
Give them the world today. Y'all make sure y'all rub feet, rub backs, cook. If you have smaller kids, y'all make sure y'all walk on y'all father's back. It's always a good feeling, man. I like that pressure. But yeah.
Can I provide a quote real quick?
Real food, JR.
It says, Aristotle says a society will tend to produce the kind of men it honors. I know honor was at the beginning of the show. So just want people to think on that.
Good.
We had something else came through. Original, everything else is carbon copy. $10 also. Member says, Father, extremely important. Just look at the society and how it's in shambles, and that will tell you how important fathers are. Absolutely. Y'all hit the like button. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Thank you, guys. Make sure y'all follow everybody on the individual platforms. Jay Stanzas on TikTok, Hink in the Basement YouTube, JS Storytell on YouTube, Coach K on YouTube, Man, Not the Enemy on YouTube. Big Cloud is a celebrity artist. He raps and sings. He also travels, so he's cultured. Luis is a phenomenal designer. Y'all make sure y'all hire him. Big corporations. Take a look at his work. And One Country Cookie, you can find her content there as well. All right. With all due respect, y'all make sure y'all enjoy yourselves. And we out, y'all. We are out. Good show. Great show. Thank you.